We resume the universe-shattering events with Batman chasing the Joker to the site of the tower they built to save the universe. It turns out to be Jim Gordon under the effects of the Joker toxin. He was a diversion. Right on cue, there is an explosion and the actual Joker rolls in with a tank. He triggers a bomb strapped to Jim's chest, and Batman barely manages to dodge the explosion. Soldiers surrounding the site fire at the Joker, but Killer Croc comes out to deal with them. Batman comes back to deal with them, but Solomon Grundy interferes to fight Batman. The Joker wants to destroy the tower to see if it will actually erase the universe out of curiosity. Out of nowhere, a grenade is thrown inside the tank, and Robin stops the Joker. There appears to be another Robin, as well as another Batman. Together, they stop the Joker. Batman bosses them around and tells them that the Flash had died in the events of the previous movie. His Earth died as well, and he currently resides on a different Earth than his, where the tower is placed in the middle of Gotham. If you hadn't watched the first part of Justice League, Crisis on Infinite Earths, make sure you follow along the story and watch our recap through the link here and in the description. We'd highly suggest you go back to watch it to keep along with the story. We're then taken to a mysterious character who used to go by the name of Charles Halstead. He's talking to a tied-up man and recalls his childhood as an ordinary kid who loved pirate books but hated people. He felt other people's emotions and could multiply them and send them back. Meanwhile, a planet explodes and is observed by the Monitor. That planet is Krypton, and a pod carrying a Kryptonian alien crashed on the side of the ship as debris. The ship is brought inside as Monitor is intrigued by the alien inside. Back to Charles. He was sent to boarding school where he was bullied by almost everyone there. And now back to Monitor. The Kryptonian girl is given food but appears to be in shock after witnessing the death of her entire species and her home planet. Monitor sits with her to provide some comfort and get her to eat, and she begins to do so. Charles continues to get beaten up around the school, but the beatings eventually gave him the ability to begin controlling his powers. He got one kid to kill the lead bully of the group, and he took over the entire school, bending everyone to his will. Monitor explains that they're on a satellite station made for observing and documenting celestial events across the multiverse. Time goes on, and he explains to the girl she's actually Kara Zor-El from Krypton, but he needs her help on the ship. His real name is Mar-Novu, but he goes by Monitor, an ancient race of beings older than the oldest sun. They are sworn to never interfere with any celestial events, only to record them. Meanwhile, Charles wants the whole world to feel what he feels. By the time he took over the school, the Third Reich was in power. The school went silent for some time, and an investigation was to be made. Upon arriving, they found everyone in the school hanged, and Charles and his boys had taken over the school completely. Back on the ship, Kara snoops around until she eventually finds her escape pod. She starts to remember her old life and discovers that her planet was destroyed. Back to Charles, he had grown to like Nazis as they were already brainwashed, full of hate, and easy to control. He took over an entire German ship which was disguised as a neutral freighter under distress. They sent out an SOS, and once an ally ship came to help, they would surprise them with an attack to sink them. He would humiliate the soldiers as they drowned in a sadistic manner. Charles was finally the pirate he always wanted to be, but it was too good to last. His ship eventually sank, and the escape boat was quickly following. So he threw everyone out. He was finally stranded alone in the middle of the ocean. With no hope, he reached out one last time with his mind, and the Atlanteans answered his call. He took them over and made them take him to Aquaman, who was the hardest person he had ever tried to control. Aquaman fought back, but eventually succumbed to Charles' power. After her discovery, Kara confronts Monitor for not saving Krypton when he could have, but he reminds her that they cannot interfere. He also reveals to her that she's not the last Kryptonian alive in this reality. Kal-El, her cousin, Superman, is still alive. She leaves Monitor to find him and live on her own to save people. Back to Charles' storytelling. It turns out that he was behind the Justice Society World War II reality, but that's a whole other story for another video on another day. Charles had been speaking to Dr. Fate all along, who was not all there. It turns out he's not crazy, he just operates on all realities, so he's not present in there all the time. The mind control doesn't work on him, and now Charles is scared. Dr. Fate binds him, names him the Psycho Pirate, transforms into his true form, and tells him that he'll give him the ability to travel through universes. Meanwhile, more universes are being destroyed, but the satellite is checking in on Kara instead of observing. They watch her fight Brainiac and win against all odds, which gives Monitor an idea. As Kara goes to search for Superman at his house, she's unable to find him. She's suddenly abducted by the satellite on Monitor's orders. He tells her that all life forms are vanishing from existence, but perhaps there's something they can do to stop it. He informs her about the antimatter wave from the previous movie, and that he has an illogical plan that could work. She had convinced him that they could interfere and win against all odds with this new way of thinking. He gives her a portion of his life force to transform her into something more. Back to a familiar universe. Charles wakes up after the Atlanteans lost the battle in World War II, and he immediately escapes. The Flash searches around for him, but he uses the powers given to him by Dr. Fate and disappears. There are protests in the White House, and Charles wakes up to a universe where he's a dictatorial president of the United States. He's visited by Harbinger, who's on her mission to recruit heroes from all the universes, knowing his ability to travel between realms. She says that the Monitor will help save the universe, and he's intrigued by this. Meanwhile, Superman monitors the incoming antimatter wave as the heroes begin to brace for impact. They prepare the towers while Superman makes it back to Earth 18, and the wave hits. On Earth 17, another Superman is having trouble with his tower after it catches fire. Kara is sent to help him, but she seems troubled. She and Superman fix the situation and activate the tower. The tower as well as the planet survive. It is a weird medieval planet with no technology to fend for itself. Supergirl isn't happy, mad that the waves don't end and that some heroes still vanished. Meanwhile, in another universe in a torn-up New York, a boy named Kamandi is sent there by Superman to a post-Great Disaster Earth. Having been originally from there, he's told that he's not alone, and he immediately attacks a gorilla by the name of Solovar, as he was previously hunted by its kind. Solovar tells him to learn to trust as the both of them need to work together. Back on the satellite ship, Charles is in agony as he is being used to broadcast emotions of calmness and confidence throughout the multiverse of heroes. The emotions, however, are too complex for him and he is not used to dealing with them. He asks Monitor to grant him some of his power to be able to do so, planning some kind of con, but Monitor blindly trusts him and gives it to him. Charles is clearly up to something. On the other side of the ship, the brains of the team discuss what they know about the situation. It was not just one antimatter wave. It is an entire storm with multiple waves that change in speed, intensity, and arrive with no patterns. Hawkgirl suggests that someone is behind the waves, and they all argue their opinions. They do not know the source of the waves, so escape is the only option. They suggest that escaping to the nether space, a theoretical dimension, is a safe place from the waves, moving all Earths there, but Monitor says that it would require incalculable power. Blue Beetle confronts Charles, now Spectro, and says he'll let everyone know he's a sociopath. Spectro mind controls him into liking him before suddenly going into agonizing pain and vanishing. But the Beetle is left still thinking that he likes Spectro. Later on in deep space, Hawkman has eyes on another wave, making it the shortest period between waves. It is brighter and more intense than before. Batman readies the tower but feels that something is different. It is a blinding light but not a wave. Suddenly, a creature appears out of nowhere behind Batman, but you can't get the drop on Batman. He fights it, but a million more have risen across the multiverse. Meanwhile, Spectro wakes up in the middle of nowhere. He's asked by another being why he's helping the others, especially Monitor. The being doesn't know what its name is, but chooses to be called Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor offers Spectro his own universe where he can make everyone feel what he feels at all times and be a god to those people. Back to the Army of Darkness, they attack the heroes and easily overpower Superman. They're intangible and cannot be grabbed. Intel claims that they're all actually a singular creature, a being attacking all existence simultaneously, but they're impervious to light attacks. Wonder Woman sets off to help a planet ruled by Amazonians for no reason, and Batman is left to fight an entire horde of shadows by himself. As usual, Batman has to carry the weight until a flashbang is thrown by Robin to clear them out. The Bat family cleans house, but more shadows appear. They fight them together, and Batman reports that the light has to be significantly bright to hurt them. Back on the post-apocalyptic Earth, Kamandi is fixing up the tower when a creature attacks him from behind. Kamandi shoots it, but more arrive while he continues to fire towards them. Solovar swoops in to help and blasts alongside him. Kamandi goes down, but Solovar is unable to aid him. Eventually, Solovar jumps to save him but gets stabbed in the process. He sets his gun to high velocity and sacrifices himself for Kamandi. He slowly dies and Kamandi sheds a tear for the man he once considered an enemy. Back on the ship, Dr. Light finally decides to help, since light is what affects the creatures. Wonder Woman on the Amazonian planet is in trouble fighting by herself until she whips out her lasso, using its light to shatter the darkness. She's going cowboy on them until they retreat. She's met by the rest of the Amazonians and she embraces the Queen as her mother. They craft a plan to bring the swords that shine bright when used for a just cause. Supergirl runs into Spectro and named him Psycho-Pirate. He instills a need for payback and revenge inside her and sends waves of hateful emotions heading toward all of the Earths. They fight down on that Earth, all using light or intense beams. Kara is distracted before she enters a frenzy and suddenly wakes up back on Krypton. It is a dream, and her mother and Brainiac explain to her that they're all dead and erased from existence. Psycho-Pirate suggests that Monitor is responsible for all the cataclysmic events that happen. The voice tells her that the universe can be remade. All she has to do is strike at the enemy. Psycho-Pirate finally tells her that she's the only one who can save the universe, and she swallows the ego lie right up. The shadows attack the Bat family, and Batman sends missiles to clear them out. They all argue as Batman doesn't want them there, and a fight breaks out within the family. Batman intervenes, and the older Robin shoves him before Batman drops him. More shadows gather around while the Amazonians continue to fend them off. The lasso and light swords are put to great use, but the Queen refuses to let the men help them in the war, refusing to arm them. Green Lantern is now fighting Dr. Light. Everyone has gone mad. He gets knocked and snaps out of it. He knocks some sense into Dr. Light to snap her out of it, and notices the old man who has been observing this whole time. Green Lantern recognizes him but fails to stop him to talk, and a fight between them breaks out. Meanwhile, Charles is still broadcasting hate, fear, and distrust to every single universe, and he explains to Monitor that he now has another option, revealing Anti-Monitor. He says there is no more Charles, only Psycho-Pirate, before vanishing away as a new antimatter wave appears. All the heroes are now fighting as the new wave approaches, and the old man fires up the tower to save this Earth. On another Earth, the Bat family is still fighting, but Batman activates the tower as well to save that Earth. The Amazonians, however, aren't able to do the same and are swallowed by the wave, as do all the other Earths. As Monitor observes his failure, the Anti-Monitor meets him. It appears that Monitor has been refusing to acknowledge his existence for centuries.
Acknowledge me!
They have an eerie conversation about paying back the power Monitor had while Wonder Woman's helmet surfaces in space. Back on Earth, Green Lantern is still fighting the old man. Tired of being called Green Lantern, he reminds him that his name is John, but the name finally makes the old man remember his own name and his own self. John Constantine. He remembers everything and regains his old form. But everyone else is now fighting as the shadows close in on all of them. Green Lantern powers up his lantern to repel them. It overloads and explodes after Green Lantern leaves his ring in there to make it explode to repel the shadows and make the retreat. Meanwhile, the Bat family is still fighting. It is a 2 versus 1 on Batman as they knock him down before the shadows snatch Batman away into the darkness. Everyone suddenly comes to their senses and hurries to save Batman, making the shadows retreat. But they are not surrendering, they are focusing their attack on one target, Earth 1. All the heroes arrive there to protect it, and the shadows all merge to form one giant monster, a single creature. Superman tries to attack, and so do the others, but it is unfazed. Monitor was wrong. It was not a random interdimensional wave, it was a planned attack. He claims that all of this is his fault, and Kara confronts him to make him pay. She blasts him with her heat vision. Meanwhile, the Shadow grows a shell and armor, adapting to the attack. Kara kills Monitor and snaps out of the blinding rage she was in. The Shadow finally charges up one giant wave to attack, and the movie concludes on a cliffhanger for Part 3. Well, the second part of the story took an unexpected twist. We did not think that the heroes would get their butts handed to them, and we did not anticipate this kind of villain. We have to admit, though, that Charles the Psycho-Pirate was probably the highlight of the movie, and we wish he would be the centralized villain, not just a tool. There will still be a third part for this movie, and we will know how it will end, but for now, we're left in the dark. Well, this brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me what you think about this film. Were you surprised that the Flash didn't appear in this film? What do you think will happen next, or how the story will conclude? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.